Hey guys, we are ending the first week of October here, and elected to come out on an evening sit tonight. Take the opportunity to get in the octagon on an evening sit here. We were in here, or I was in here 2 or 3 days ago, and the topic of this video tonight is going over the technical deer hunter, is what I call it. There's so much technology that has came so far in the last couple of years. It's overwhelming at times to begin with. But when you pick and choose which one of those, or 2 or 3 of those, let's say, platforms to use, it can be very, very helpful to your situation. Now, tonight, what we're going to go over is the technical part of understanding what night or what hunt in general to pick. So there's a couple things that I've been doing, and we're going to do this as short and sweet as we can. Left the windows shut in the octagon, and it's a steady between 8 to 13 mile an hour wind out of the northwest. And so we left the windows shut. It's blowing into blowing right in the front bow window of the blind, and we're up high enough on the ridge that I don't have to worry about the thermals sinking because we're in the blind. Very, very little thermals, that, if any, are going to sink down below like they would be if you were in a stand. With an 8 mile an hour, 13 mile an hour wind, we got clean air behind us, and no conifers blocking us or anything, and it's going out and above and getting over top of the ridge back to where the truck is. And so what platforms do I recommend using to determine at this time of October, especially when to hunt and when not to put pressure on your property in general, but a certain stand? I think one of the biggest things to use right now is a app such as a forecast app or a deer movement app that ties your barometer, your forecast, all of your the date into it, and the weather, the moon, ties all that into it and gives you an honest opinion per your not per what things are happening in the Midwest, but per your address, per your zip code. And the one that I choose to use is DeerCast. One, because I know the creators of it, Mark and Terry, and they're great guys. But the study that's just done behind it, I have tried to make it fail, and I've never had it fail. There's nothing that I've found about it that some of the things that they talk about as far as the phases maybe don't relate to as in general as it does into the Midwest, as it does in like a high pressure state or anything east or northeast of the Midwest. So take that into consideration, some of the stuff that they talk about, the food plot hunting and all that. But if you put your own mindset and your own twist to that, understanding just the phases, the stuff that they talk about on the phases is there's a lot of truth to that. Picking your sits, this phase is, picking your sits not over, don't, be burning out the stands for no reason. And that ties us into tonight's topic is knowing why did I pick tonight. And the reason I picked tonight is because it rained all last night. Now, a week ago, I had this date circled on my calendar for an evening hunt. And why did I have this circled? I didn't know exactly what the winds were going to do. I knew the direction of the wind, but I didn't know the speed of the wind. So you just keep following along with that and keep tying it in. But a week ago, I circled this date. Why did I circle this date a week ago? And the reason for that is because I had seen that the rain was going to come into our area last night. So it rained just after dark, and it rained. It was actually a pretty good pressure last night, but it was raining. And then it rained all last night, and it quit this morning. And instead of going out right after the rain in the morning hunt, which would have been a good time, but per the date, I don't want to implement that pressure that I don't have to, that my neighbors are. So I elected to let them do their thing in the morning and then come out to this evening and hunt. So it's nice and sunny right now, but it's 10 degrees cooler than it was yesterday. Now, 10 degrees isn't a lot, but when you're talking about a change from when we had high 60, 68, and now we're in the mid 50s, and by dark it's supposed to be 47 or 48 degrees. That's a pretty good influx, or a change in weather. So that's that's how I use these tools, is to aid in the search. Now, obviously I don't have my own weather app. I don't have, anybody that I'm working with and making one of these. So I use DeerCast, and then you just have to make, you have to tie that to your plan. You have to forecast that out to what your, look at the forecast out of your usable, huntable dates. If it's going to be the weekend, look ahead and say, is it really worth, going up to deer camp and putting that extra pressure? And when it's not going to be perfect. This weekend is a perfect example. My son, it'll be the first time that he gets to hunt, and wouldn't you know it, it's the pressure's low. There's no weather fronts coming in. It's warm. We're supposed to have like 74 or 75 degrees on Saturday. So he's in, just started driver's training, and he's just geeked to hook that release on that new VXR for the first time and get out. But so that's the things that I have, built over the years in my mind and in my playlist on how to go about picking these spots. The second thing, we're going to do two, and then we're going to get to work here. Two things. The second thing, and this regards to another platform that's pretty popular. I use Onyx, and Onyx Maps is a way to design. I design all my client parcels on there, and then I use obviously other imagery to draw stuff out and explain it a little bit more in depth at that, some of the things that they don't offer. But Onyx, and one of the things that we'll use tonight is perfect situation. I didn't need to do it on this one because it's close to the home farm here, and I knew it is on the home farm, and I knew, kind of like the back of my hand. But when you get into a situation, you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 stands, whether it's one property, and then you get into 2 or 3 different properties, and you're like, what morning hunt was that wind again? And you're trying to remember, trying to place yourself in the stand, and oh yeah, it's a morning hunt, I should be doing this on this wind. Evening sit, I shouldn't be sitting there. It can get real carried away in a hurry. And so what I do is to take that hurdle out of it, is there's a and I'll try to put the pictures on here as much as I can, guys, for you to follow along. But on Onyx, after you drop your pin of your stand or your blind, you can go into it and you can add a photo. And what I do is I take 2 photos and I make a photo collage. So I put one on the top of the stand, I put one on the bottom of what it looks like, so I can remember, just as kind of as you're sitting in the stand or in the blind, just as a reference. A picture is always reference. But what I do on that, instead of it just being a picture, is I put my hunt, I label it hunt chart at the top, and then I put AM hunts and I put PM hunts, and under the AM hunts I put which winds I need, and under the PM hunts, if I can hunt it on both evening and the morning. If it's just an evening hunt, then we'll just say the evening, and it'll just have the winds. If it's both, it'll have AM and PM, which winds I can hunt them. And it's just a reference. The old days when I was guiding, I had a 3-ring binder, and it was all printed out in packets or pockets, and it was all laminated. And anybody that's following along here that used to work with me or for us, the years ago, and you're probably smiling on this because you can remember all of us sitting there with color-coded markers and drawing out our cornfields and our bean fields and our transition areas. And guys, I'd hate to think how many markers I burnt through in my life as a guide and doing this for a profession and as a hunter myself. Now it's all it's right at your fingertips, and it's kind of spooky in a way. But as a deer hunter, it's I don't there's a lot of it. Kind of got to weed through some of it out there that gets a little crazy, but for the most part, there's a couple of them out there that are really good, and 2 of them that we're talking about tonight is Onyx Maps, and the other one is DeerCast by Mark and Terry Drury. I believe in them, I really do, and like I said, there's always something that you can pick apart, and somebody watching this says, well, it doesn't work in my area, and blah blah blah. But if you dig into it and you use it for what it's worth, just like those Onyx, you can put them pictures there. I don't know anybody else that does that, but that's a teaching tool that I'll give to you guys, is that really helps me. I mean, I've got 20 some trail cameras, and I've got 3 farms now to hunt private ground, and then I've got public ground that I hunt as well. So it's like, can't remember, and then when it gets right down to it, you're running late, and you need to make a decision quick if you're going to go at all. And it's just a reference to me. That's something that I've done it pretty strongly over the last couple of years because I had a place to put it on Onyx. So yeah, so that's where we're at. So take a couple of those tips, guys, and we are locked in here. This is, like I've told you in the past, this is one of those sits that this blind should have been here years ago. But when you're in the profession I am, and you're putting all your best foot forward on other clients' property, and now we're in an area now, and I just feel pretty blessed that this, the home farm that we have, which is for sale, but it's in between two large parcels, two of the largest parcels left in our county, and so perfect deal. This is before we get any further, we're going to get locked in, and we've got a couple hours here before dark, and we'll let you know what happens. Thanks, guys.